Welcome, this is Attorney Gordon Johnson, and today I'm going to talk to you about the nature of the deficits we get from brain damage that's related to carbon monoxide poisoning. Generally, brain damage is broken out into four major areas of deficits: cognition, mood, behavior, and neurological deficits. I'm going to talk to you about each of those specifically and then talk to you in general about the nature of the global problems we get from carbon monoxide poisoning. When we're talking about cognition, we're talking about changes in the way a person thinks, about the way a person remembers, about the way in which a person processes information. This is typically the kind of deficit that is most often tested after brain damage, and we would typically see a neuropsychologist describing these types of deficits. Mood deficits deal with the changes in emotions that a person has, and mood is talking about, in the general, the way in which a person presents itself and the way a person feels internally. Good examples of mood would be happy or sad, and we often see significant depression after a carbon monoxide poisoning. One of the hallmarks of a problem with mood problems after carbon monoxide poisoning is that we see a very flat personality. There's just very little change, and it's just sort of a very sad look in a person's eyes, and it's just like they don't really care. When we're talking about behavior, we're talking more about emotions as they are expressed outward. It's the interaction with other people. It's the failure to respond appropriately to other people. It's that outward expression of anger and some very subtle things in terms of initiation, planning, and follow-through. When we're talking about neurological deficits, you can start to think about it in terms of the types of things that would be looked for in a roadside sobriety test. I've just failed my own. But neurological deficits are much more significant than just the failure to say the right thing when you intend to. In carbon monoxide poisoning, we often see very significant changes in vision, balance, and it even goes so far as to the physical aspects of sleep. Now, with carbon monoxide poisoning, those deficits don't just fit neatly within the four categories, because carbon monoxide poisoning occurs on a cellular basis throughout the brain. It doesn't have the specific trauma that you might see in a traumatic brain injury, but it comes through what happens to the tissue from the poisoning through the blood. So it's a very diffuse injury. Thus, we often see blurring of those four lines and seeing cumulative problems much greater than you might see for the specific parts.